Hi, this is Rick DeVille. You're watching So Fucking Cool.
Alright, So Fucking Cool here with Rick DeVille. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing today?
Good. So you're doing some detailed work here, man?
Yeah, I'm doing some evil. Something really evil on my buddy John here. Seems to be his favorite genre.
So how long have you been doing tattoos for?
I've been tattooing full-time professionally for 23 years now. So November of '94 is when I started.
What got you into doing it?
Well, I started off as a custom car painter, and it basically, I can't really explain how I got started in it. It's just something I always wanted to do, and when I had the opportunity to pick up a tattoo machine, I went ahead and took it.
That's a big difference going from doing cars to doing body parts.
Yeah, you would think it is, but knowing your equipment and knowing how to do what you're doing is a big part of any game. You know, you can have a lightsaber, but if you don't know how to sword fight, you're going to lose. So it's pretty much all the same.
Now, when you're going through, you have people coming in, did you ever have an instance where you won't want to do a certain tattoo on someone?
You know, it's funny. Back in the early days, you try to have a high level of, you know, trying to save people's lives, you know? Like, you shouldn't get that, but, you know, nowadays I'll just go to the shop down the street. But there is tattoos that I won't do and don't really have to do anymore. It's, you know, I have guys in the shop that'll take care of those now, so.
So you're not doing any YOLO tattoos?
No, I earned a reprieve from that stuff, man.
What's the weirdest part you ever tattooed on somebody before?
The weirdest part? Well, you know, I've never been fortunate enough to do the taint. But I have done some genitals over the years, and you know, and nowadays nothing really seems weird. That question is, nothing's weird anymore, you know? If you have skin there, I'm gonna tattoo it, so.
Have you ever had any weird experiences with anybody when you're tattooing them? Like passing out or screaming, yelling?
I've got plenty of those stories, actually. I have a world famous story that I tell. I've been telling this story for a while because I'll never forget this guy. His name's Rodrigo.
Okay.
And he came from Chile. And I guess in Chile, they have a different level of embarrassment than we do here in America, man. And good old Rodrigo, man, I knew he was getting sick, and he went ahead and got up, stood up, started to black out, started running backwards, tripped, fell down, hit his head, and shit himself. So, yeah, we took him out behind the shop and squirted him off. And it's funny, I sent him home that day, and he came back to finish his tattoo. I wouldn't have been seen in the same county as that tattoo shop after that myself, if I shit myself, but.
For sure. Now, how do you keep up on the trends that are going with tattooing? I mean, I see that there's blacklight tattoos now. I see the ones that are skin and they'll play music when you do with your phones.
You know, I'm not really a big enthusiast of those type of gimmicks. I have done the blacklight inks before, and generally they're just a really crappy, poor quality pigment. It's just kind of a novelty. As far as the music playing stuff, thank God I haven't had to get into that too much. You know, the longer you tattoo, the more you're able to focus in on what your strong points are, and you know, you have a following. You have people that come to you for a certain type of thing, and you know, thank God for that. You know, that's basically, you know, how I do my tattoos these days. So I don't have to do too many of the trends.
That's cool. It's always weird seeing how that stuff works. I mean, you know, people don't know exactly what even is going to happen to them years from now. They do and stuff like that. I have no idea how the music even.
Yes. Well, you know, the tattoos age. And it'll probably start, remember back in the old days when you used to turn a record backwards and Satan would talk to you? So, you know, let's say 10 years from now, man, those music notes are probably going to twist up a little bit, but you never know.
That's a good point, man. I never thought about that. You see the aging and tattoo, the skin wrinkles.
Oh, yeah.
That little tune that you had going on before.
Yeah, next thing you know, man, it's Satan talking to you.
Yeah.
Drop enough acid, man, you'll find a waterfall to walk off of.
You do a lot of cover-up tattoos?
I do quite a bit of cover-ups, actually, and it's something that I don't try to advertise. I usually don't even take before pictures. There's so many shitty shops in the world these days that you just get inundated with them, you know.
Right.
If you advertise you're good at them, that's all you'll do. Yeah, but I do a lot of them, yes.
Well, it's kind of scary when you think about it. I mean, people can just take a needle in Indian neck, do that little crack that they do.
Well, I'll tell you what's scarier. What's scarier is people going ahead and thinking that they could start a professional shop with little to no experience. And, and then it's, Joe Consumer sees the fact that you have a storefront and, they trust you.
Right.
And that's the problem with the industry today is that, out of 100 shops, you maybe have 20 that are decent, 10 that are really good, and 5 that are phenomenal.
Right.
So
what's the process of opening a shop? You just have to get health certified. You can do it if you say you can do it.
Pretty much.
That really is scary about that.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's there is really no regulations other than but that works like that in any industry. You can go get a certification after 5 days and do permanent cosmetics and start drawing eyebrows on people's faces.
Right.
It's luckily the tattoo industry still values the apprenticeship, the master apprenticeship relationships, which is a good thing. But there is plenty of people out there that will go ahead and look at this as an easy way to make a living and not really realize that it's easy is a relative term. What exactly is easy? Every one of my guys in here, including me and anybody in the industry that takes it with a high level of respect and integrity, will say that this is their life. We go home at night, that's all we think about. Every day we're tuning, we're adjusting, we're making new modifications, trying out the latest equipment, the latest inks. We're in here all day long designing and coming up with the best pieces possible. It really is more than a full-time job. It's actually a lifestyle.
Right.
So, it's not the get-rich-quick thing that a lot of people go into it for, or just, hey, I want to be cool and never went to college, so you got to watch out for people like that. But
well, I don't see anything easy in this whatsoever. You're an amazing artist, for one, who able to go ahead and do this on someone's skin. It's phenomenal.
That is the cool thing about tattooing is, you might be able to put something on paper, but paper isn't curved, paper doesn't move, paper doesn't age, paper isn't three-dimensional. Your pencil doesn't have to go in a certain depth. Your paper doesn't have to heal.
Right.
There's no erasing, obviously. So there's actually a lot to it. I take every tattoo very seriously. Every client is as important as the next, and that's just the way you have to go about every piece you start.
Do you do a lot of custom ideas, or do you sit there and sketch things out, have that in mind when someone says, hey, I'm thinking about this, and you're like, you know what, look at what I've written here, what I've done.
Oh, that does happen, of course, yeah. I mean, the busier you are, you know, the less time you have to do your own stuff. You know, every day that I get up, I have to draw for my tattoos that day. So that generally takes a pretty big chunk out of time, but you know, over the course of 20 plus years being, you know, a full-time professional artist, I do have lots of my own work laying around, and you know, you do start building quite a portfolio of stuff.
Now, today with modern technology, does that help with social media and being able to put your work out there?
Good question. As a matter of fact, social media right now is our biggest tool. It's also our biggest pain in the ass. You can't get people to come into the store anymore.
Right.
You know, they think they can message you on Facebook. You know, they want we have a joke around here. It's we get the number one question: how much for a tattoo? You know, and you look at them and you say, like, you know, how much for a car?
Exactly.
You know, or how much for a bag of groceries?
Right.
It's crazy, man. And you know, we'll actually, you know, drive ourselves crazy posting on the page. You know, you must come in person to make an appointment, and it's actually. It's pretty tough, man, and you know, then you have the reviews. You know, you can get a bad review because someone doesn't like you, as opposed to whether or not you do good work. So you're always, you know, worried about that. You know, it's a double-edged sword, social media, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you do bring up a good point there. I mean, you could have a rival business that's going to go ahead and have a bunch of people go and say, hey, terrible work from this guy, only because they're trying to build themselves up.
You know, you just brought that up, and that's a scary point. I try not to ever think that. I'm a true believer in what you think, you bring into existence. And I don't even want to have to think that's how easy it could be to destroy a reputation.
Right, right.
You know?
Well, the only benefit that you have in a situation like this, it's not like a restaurant where you can go and say, hey, Applebee's just gave me a shit meal, but I don't have a picture of the meal that I ate. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In the situation with you, here's my work. Here's a picture of the tattoo. Here's what's done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's true, and you could prove that it wasn't shit. But you know, the thing is with social media also comes the benefit of people. There's an education to the public of what a good tattoo is and what a good tattoo isn't.
Right, right.
And you hope that, you know, as being one of the foremost tattooists, you know, in the area or in the country, you kind of, you know, hope people catch on to that a little sooner, you know, and it's that way to protect themselves from bad work, and also so that you stand ahead of the crowd. So.
Did you ever have a situation where somebody just couldn't finish? Like they didn't realize what the tattoo would feel like?
You know, I have one in my whole life where the person didn't finish. Normally you get to a point where you could stop, and most adult humans will at least have enough, I don't know if it's gumption to finish their tattoo they start, or at least let you get to a stopping point where you can stop. I remember I tattooed this guy in the 90s. His name was RJ, and he was a pretty cool dude, he thought. You know, he was always coming in, what up dog, the whole deal. Anyways, he wanted a tattoo on his back. He wanted Mama Tried across his lower back in the tramp stamp area. So I was like, you got it, bro. And we went ahead and started drawing it up on his back freehand. And so there was no pattern of it. Well, I did the M and then the A. Guy couldn't handle it. I go, bro, you can't have Ma on your back. So then he goes ahead and we get to the other M. He's got Ma'am. Couldn't stop. I'm like, dude, you got to the A. He's got Mama on his back, right? That was it. He tapped. So to this day, there's a cat running around out there with the tramp stamp that says Mama. So, yeah, good luck to that guy, right?
Well, you mentioned earlier that you have to go through different names and things like that. Now,
the biggest parts of our industry, one of the most important parts of the industry. The quality of the pigment is pretty much, I would say, in a tie for number one. You could arguably say your machines, but as far as that goes, tattoo machines have been the same technically for hundreds of years. You know, so I mean, you could use a needle and thread. If you saturate the skin with the ink and you don't harm the skin, it'll heal good, and depending on your inks, you'll have the quality of tattoo. So inks are very important. I use a couple different brands. I found out over the years that a lot of brands have colors that work better than others, and so I mix and match a lot of things. I got a shop here that I started a year and 2 months ago, and we're killing it. Put us right here on the main boulevard in outside of Buffalo, New York, and basically I just went ahead and threw my dick down. And all eyes on us. And this first year we prevailed. We went from starting out from zero and ended the first year at a local convention, and we took home some awards and lots of accolades. So very happy.
That's awesome, man. Especially, how long have you been doing this for?
I personally been tattooing 23 years.
Jesus Christ, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's funny too. You know, you think about it and you look back on it, and time really does fly. It for sure does.
Now, being an artist that you are and doing the work that you do, what finally pushed you over to get your own shop and do your own thing?
Well, this actually is my third shop that I've owned.
Okay.
The first couple shops that I owned were earlier in my career, in the 90s, and I didn't have the headset for business that I do now, which is kind of shitty, you know. As I found that there's two types of tattoo shop owners. There's the ones that are able to tattoo and run the business, and then there's the ones that don't tattoo and run the business. And when I was younger, it was really hard for me to go ahead and do both at the same time. I still had a lot of that, that rock star attitude. Partying was cool. I would come into the tattoo shop and lights would be off, and I just remembered I hadn't checked the mail in 2 or 3 weeks, and shit like that, and but it was different time. The 90s were, I guess, a lot more of the Wild West,
right?
As far as tattooing went. It was the end of an era, and just before the start of the new age of tattooing, where it became more artsy. So it was still a kind of a hardcore scene where shops were held in a different regard than they are now. They had a aura to them. They had a mystique about them, and you could get away with being a badass. And business wasn't the thing that was on the front of my mind. You couldn't really talk me into being as responsible as I should be when I just went ahead and put $2,000 cash in my pocket, and you know what I'm saying, and there was a titty bar calling my name.
That's it.
So but this shop is a lot different. This is I'm in my 40s now, and basically times are different. Times are a lot different, and I took all the knowledge of all the years of owning shops, all the shops I've worked out of, all the different types of shop owners, the ways to run shops, and I put it all together into what is seemingly extremely successful shops. So everything's working out really well.
Good for you, man.
Thank you.
It's got to be hard to balance everything out. I mean, when we go out and look at the floor there, I mean, there's several stations. We have several artists working for you. You yourself are still doing tattoos, so it's not just like a 9-to-5 job or whatever time you have scheduled to do your work. You're probably here longer than.
Oh, for sure. Well, to kind of further expand on that point, being an artist and starting to work and doing the level of work that I'm doing requires so much concentration and so much preparation. that pulls you away from keeping an eye on what's going on around the shop a lot. So you do end up with, an artist that will start, being a little shady or shifty, and it takes you a little longer to catch up to them, because so I'm sitting there doing a portrait that's taken me 5-6 plus hours to do, and you can't really pay attention to everything, and that kind of is what tugs at me, because I've been tattooing so long. I remember the old days when a boss would just grab you by your neck, throw you through the window, and kick your ass, and empty your wallet as you're hitting the ground, and so I have a lot of that old bringing in me. I have a lot of the old ethics in me, and that is tough to pay attention, and it does wear on me a little bit that I have to still keep the business going and, pay all the bills and keep up on all the supplies. So I do. I get in here. We open at 1 o'clock, and I usually get here at 10 in the morning, 10:30 in the morning. I got to do everything that I need to do. Let me put it to you this way. I'm more on time than a clock. I basically do everything is like a regimented soldier. I have certain days I do certain things, and that's just the way it is, and I don't vary from them. I don't have time or the energy or the ability in my brain to go ahead and have every day a variable. Every day is structured, and I know what I have to do, and that leaves my brain open to do the artwork that I'm doing. So that's pretty much how I do things. As a matter of fact, I order the same breakfast every morning. I'm so sick of it. I can't stand it anymore. I feel like throwing up when I eat it, but also I call it the breakfast that doesn't count. To me, it's just part of the morning. You put a little food in your gut. I don't have to think about what it is. I'm not worried about it anymore. Just put it in my gut, come in here and do what I need to do. So I'm very structured like that, and that's the only way that I've found that I've been able to actually be an artist and run a successful shop.
That's awesome. I mean, it gives you full play, but it's very successful in the long run, and it pays off.
Right.
Take a look around this place.
Well, and a lot of things that I bring to the table too are a very high level of tattoo ethics. One of the things that I'm getting really bothered about now is the lack of tattoo ethics. We have so many people out there wanting to jump on the bandwagon to be a tattoo artist. I don't know whether it be cool, whether it be easy money, whether they think that they could draw. I don't know what it is, but basically the lack of ethics is a little bit disappointing today. There was a day when you'd get your knuckles broken, machines taken from you if you were being a jackass.
Right.
Nowadays, you can pretty much get away with everything, and you're getting people throwing anything on people nowadays, not worried about what it's going to look like in the future, not really giving a shit what it's going to look like in 1 year, let alone 15 years. And that's actually weighing on me a little bit, One of the things that I believe is kind of blurring the industry a little bit, and is Ink Master, as a matter of fact. It started out as a really cool concept, and it was really good for the industry as far as I'm concerned. But as the seasons go on, it's become nothing but drama. And nowadays, you watch the show, and it's teaching, potential clients how to be an asshole to you. It's, giving them the wrong vibe. It's giving them the wrong idea of how to act. It went ahead and for example, there was this, one of the latest episodes, there was one of the greatest tattoo artists to ever be on the show, an actual true ink master, drew a mistake. He drew some hands on there backwards, and basically, instead of a rival shop saying, hey man, you went ahead and put these hands on there backwards, actually having respect for the client's skin, they went ahead and kept it a secret and let him do that because they weren't able to take him on with their artistry themselves. And the judges and everybody let that go. And that pretty much just sums it up right about now. I think the tattooing needs to go back to basics. I think it needs to go back to its roots a little bit.
Right.
We can keep the artistry. I'm all for the artistry. I'm all for the new technology, the inks, the rotary machines, the cartridge systems. I'm all for that. I think that was the part in the old days that was obviously lacking. But as far as the ethics of tattooing went, I believe we need to get back to those.
Now, how do you keep track on the inks, the cartridges? What's new? What's going to stay? It's got to be.
Well, tattooing is never something that you fall asleep or get content with as far as your learning curve going stale.
Right.
If you have any bit of artistry in you, you're always going to try to achieve a better effect, a better tattoo. Whether it be airbrushing or oil painting, just being in the industry, if it's something that's your life, man, that's what you live for. It's every waking second of your being is thinking about what you're throwing down next. You automatically are up on the latest, equipment and everything else like that. And basically, how you go about using them, how you go about, discovering what each new thing, does, what it achieves, what kind of effect it has. That's something that's weird. That's a weird concept because that all of a sudden just clicks in you one day. Like, it'll hit you, man. Like, whoa, no kidding, man. That's what that will do. Like, what's the difference between using a bug pin needle grouping for black and gray or color? What's the difference between using a bug pin grouping, whether it be a soft edge mag for color or black and gray? Those are things that you have to keep notes about in your head, whether they be, on paper or in your head. And with tattooing, that's also something you have to keep notes on and how the effect heals.
Right.
How does this stuff look when it's healed? You could walk out of a tattoo shop with an amazing piece of art. All of a sudden it heals like shit.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe it heals okay, but for some reason it's a year from now it looks like complete garbage. So longevity, the longer you tattoo, the more you're around, the more you're consistently working, the more you're in one spot to see your work coming back to you. Someone coming, whether it be a client coming back for another session a few weeks later, or it be a loyal customer that has been going to you for years and you see a tattoo you did from 10 years ago. It's actually a constant learning curve. It's something that you never give up learning. It's something you just, I don't really even know how to put it into words. It's more of who I am. This isn't what I do for a living. It's who I am.
Right.
I'm the tattoo guy. And it's, and now that's pretty cool actually, man. It's,
awesome.
it is, man. It's,
Now, having a shop as big as you have, how many artists do you have out there working for you?
Right now, I have 2 guys working for me, and I have an open station. So if there's anybody out there listening, we are hiring somebody. I had to get rid of somebody, and basically, if you work for me, you're a good artist. You're a great tattoo artist. The problem is, you have to be consistent, and you can't be on dope.
Right.
And I had to let a guy go because he was asking people for drugs and he was becoming inconsistent. And so I basically had to tune him up a little bit and send him down the road. So I don't fuck around, man.
I don't blame you.
This is as far as I'm concerned. I'm sober as a judge.
Right.
And I will always be sober as a judge. Whenever everything, with the exception of a coffee with a shot of espresso in it in the morning, that's it for me, man. This isn't my skin. This is these people are trusting me with their skin. As far as I'm concerned, that is one of the highest honors ever. It's funny too because you look at, if you walk into a bar, you're not just letting people fuck you in the bathroom.
Right.
Okay, you actually hold some regard to that, and with that, and that's not even a permanent thing. You got someone, if someone comes in the door and they want a tattoo, that's permanent. That stays on them. And the client doesn't really look at it in the way I just explained it. They actually need you to do that for them, because they'll pretty much go ahead and hand their skin over to anybody.
Which is a shame.
It's a total shame. And in most metropolitan cities, there's 100+ shops in any given county. And that's sad, because out of the 100 shops, there's maybe 15 that are good. And out of those 15, there's maybe 8 that are really good, and there's 2 or 3 that are spectacular.
Right.
And that's hard to do, man. It's hard to get these people to be aware that, hey man, this isn't like pulling your car into a body shop, when even then you would probably go to the Better Business Bureau and check it out.
Right.
But for some reason, people are so loose with their skin. And so not only hiring an artist is important for their art, but you have to look at their integrity levels. You have to look at what they're going to do and how they're going to respect the client, because like I said, they need to actually be shown that. They'll walk through your door just thinking, hey man, let's get a tattoo. So that's another part of running a successful shop. The longer you could do that, and you could hold that and ride that wave of success on every tattoo coming in and out of your shop, it's amazing how, if you can get through that first year, the second year is just like, it's like you're rolling downhill now, man. And after then, it's like you've established it. So now it's up to me as the shop owner to go ahead and keep that level of integrity. I have an open station in my shop right now, and that does cut into you fiscally, but I'm not about to fill that shop for my pockets.
Right, definitely.
So I'm going to maintain that level of integrity, and I'm going to keep that quality where it needs to be. And it's only going to pay off, man.
Now, when you choose a new artist, do you find someone that does a different style that you do, or what do you look for when you have more than one person in a tattoo shop?
Preferably, that would be optimum. To find somebody that could do a little bit different style. That way, you could keep people coming to you for what you do. But see, then again, once you're good enough on a level, man, and you're hitting on pretty much every style you could do pretty good, as a shop owner, you should be able to pretty much hit up on everything. I just want an artist that's good, man. They're so rare nowadays. You have an artist there's so many shops out there. All the great artists own a shop, or they're at a shop that they're good at. They're happy there. Their clients are there. If you find somebody that was in need of a shop, there's a high percentage, there's a reason they're needing a shop.
Right.
So, to me, just somebody that's good, they do clean work, they have the right head for it, man, and it's somebody that actually looks at, let me put it to you this way. This is an example of testing somebody's head and where they're looking. Somebody that doesn't look at working on somebody as practice. When I first started tattooing, I pretty much went professional. I was self-taught. It was the early 90s, and self-taught back then was kind of an okay thing. One of the reasons being is most of the shops back then were owned by ex-carnies, ex-military, biker gangs, somebody with affiliations. They were hardcore shops. So a lot of the people that you were learning from were, crazy old schoolers, man. And bad habits, what are you going to get apprenticed by someone with bad habits? Basically, I was self-taught, and I used to look at tattoo magazines, and I would say to myself, okay, check this out, man. If my stuff isn't coming out like that, I'm doing something wrong. And I would be tattooing somebody with a soldering machine ready to go next to me. I'd be cutting my own springs, wrapping my own coils. I even would make my own needles. And I would actually, in the middle of a tattoo, I would change my springs, man, and say, hey, I don't like the way this is working right now. And I would get it till I got it.
Right.
I would just do it, man, until shit was coming out the way it needed to come out. And so for me, being self-taught was the best thing back in the early 90s. As far as it went, though, I never ever considered working on anybody practice. To me, that's not fair to them. If somebody is saying, hey, I'll let you practice on my leg, it was never like that. To me, it was, I'm going to do a kick-ass tattoo on your leg. And that's the difference, man. If you can find somebody, maybe not in that extreme of an example, but if you can find somebody that looks at the skin as not theirs, but the client's, and doesn't ever look at it as
It's got to be frustrating for someone like you who is a successful business owner to go back on the point that you made, that there's 100 shops in a certain area. It seems like any asshole who can go ahead and get the equipment can go ahead and do it.
right.
Does it bother you that it's not more regulated about who gets to open up a shop? I mean, this, like you said, this is your body, this is your ink that's going to stay in you for the rest of your life.
As far as regulated goes, with the exception of the health department, I don't want any regulations. Like I said, man, it's I've been tattooing a lot of years, and I'd rather regulate it myself. Unfortunately, in this time, in this day and age, a firebomb through a front window of a shop, or broken knuckles and some stealing, taking some machines from somebody is impossible.
Right.
So people throwing shops up is what happens. I could live with that. As far as I'm concerned, all that does is bring attention to our industry. Okay, so now there's a tattoo shop everywhere. People are aware of tattoos. Now, how concerned am I about getting the people through the door? Well, I'm not. I'm not concerned, because there's plenty of people out there. There's people turn 18 every day, and there's plenty of people out there that are intelligent, that have some sort of self-respect, integrity levels, and they'll look at your work. Word of mouth is fantastic. As far as it goes right now, our word of mouth is so, fantastic. It's, it's unbelievable the amount of accolades and reviews and what people are saying about our work.
Yeah.
So now there's the whole thing now that we got through the first year, and the first year basically is like, here we are. And everybody was paying attention. I was the first shop to ever go this high profile in the Buffalo area that's been successful. I went ahead and opened up on the boulevard, right on the main strip. 80,000 cars pass us a day, and high rent district. And I said to myself, you know what, let's check this shit out, man. I said, in all my years of experience, there's two things that make a successful tattoo shop: longevity and word of mouth, which is reputation.
Right.
And I knew that we had the reputation. I knew I had my clients, and I knew that that was already built in. Now I said to myself, how am I going to do this? I don't have longevity. So I went ahead and rolled the dice and put myself right here on the main strip, man, right on the boulevard, and that's risky. I had to come up with this much money to go ahead and pay for this place right off the bat. Well, it paid off in dividends.
Right.
Basically, what it did was it put a magnifying glass right over the top of us, and every shop in the area, every person in the area, everybody in the area watched us. And for a year straight, man, it was nothing but just solid, sick ass work. And like I said, it ended almost a year to the day, pretty much, man. About 15 days off. It ended from start to the local tattoo convention where, we won awards, color portraits, best black and gray, tattoos of the day, and it basically, what it did was it solidified us. Just to go back to an old school thing too, I did go around to all the shops in the area that I had respect for and asked them and told them what I was doing. I said, I'm opening a tattoo shop. And I'm just throwing that out there because I am old school, man. I'm not one of these punk kids that comes into an area and just throws a shop up. I actually went around and asked and told other tattoo shop owners what I was doing. And yeah, they actually looked at me and went like, wow, man. That's been a while since somebody's done that shit. So, yeah, oh yeah, man. So, you know, and of course, right there, here it is. Come check us out, man.
That's awesome, man. So, for you. Now, being as successful as you are, doing the great work that you do, what do you do in a situation where somebody comes in and they're not happy with the work that someone else did? They don't want you to, let's say, it's not bad ink. They don't want you to redo it, but they want you to finish off something like that. What do you do in a situation like that?
Well, that's a highly perceptive question, knowing that I just got rid of an artist. That was a good one, Ramsey. Actually, we're living that nightmare right now, as a matter of fact. Like I said, I had an inconsistent artist. And he was basically running off of mine and White Bread's coattails. And basically, we were bringing in the reputation, and he was, you know, there to build a reputation as well, and didn't capitalize on it to the extent he should. As a matter of fact, he was working for me, so he was a good artist. Right. And he had the highest percentage of good work for no returns I have ever seen in my life. I knew there was a problem. But to answer your question, that's where the integrity comes in. There's a certain point of where I'm able to tell when a person's just trying to dust me and get some free work out of me, or there's a actual legit problem that's happened. And my years of experience are what differentiate that. I've run into both those scenarios recently. Basically, you know, because they heard that he's gone and I had problems with him, they're coming back in saying, well, I think he overcharged me, or this or that, or, you know, or this, a situation like that. And it's all in how you talk to the people. Basically, if you get what's going on and you can give it back to them in a way that they really can answer you back, and you keep it, you know, in a factual, experienced, professional tone, they know there's no getting over on you. If the person clearly needs this tattoo fixed up because this was one of his shitty days, well then I gotta do it, right. You know, and I will take care of it. I have an artist here who has a little more availability than I do. And he's willing actually to go ahead and basically be the shop savior and take on all these clients. And in which case, normally what I do is I'll waive my percentage, my cut, or I'll say, hey man, just go ahead and fix this up. And I'll let you keep the money. A lot of times I'll say to the person, hey, we can go ahead and do that. Nick, or the dude was a good artist. You know, we'll fix it up, but hey, this guy, I'm going to need you to throw him a little something, you know what I'm saying? Right. And then I'll just say to the new artist, hey, just keep it, because it's not his fault. And usually it works out like that. If there's a case where the person is really upset, or it happens to be one of the people he was asking for, drugs, right, something like that, I immediately will jump on it and just handle it. It's, I guess, basically, to answer your question, it's a slide rule. You got to kind of figure it out, feel the situation, and just, use your experience and knowledge to handle it correctly.
Cool.
So.
Now, one thing that I've seen that's pretty unique here is the word is it micro invasion?
Microblading.
Microblading, yeah.
Yes. Well, that's interesting. The microblading. Well, it all starts with, I was doing cosmetic tattooing for a lot of years. I would do eyebrows and stuff like that on, like people with alopecia. I remember my first Lucky DeVille shop in Arizona. That place was wild, man, and it was all punk rocked out, and I had crazy people hanging out in front of it all the time. And this was in the '90s, obviously.
Right.
And one day this little old lady walks in, man, and you could barely see the top of her head over the countertop. And music was blasting, and I think I was blasting some Bad Religion at the time. And I went over there and I turned down the music and I tried listening to her, and she said, "Excuse me, sir, do you do eyebrows?" And I said to myself, you know, having more confidence in God, I said, well, I don't see why I couldn't, you know, if they're just eyebrows. Anyways, she explained to me, as you get older, when you take off your glasses, you can't see your face anymore to pencil on eyebrows. And it made so much sense to me. Anyways, I started doing the cosmetic, tattooing and stuff like that as it came available. Out here, we were offering it as well, that there's a new process that they call microblading. And basically what that is in the cosmetic tattoo world, there isn't the formal apprenticeships that there is in tattooing. The cosmetic world basically does everything they can in their power to eliminate or separate themselves from tattooing, even though they're actually tattooing. They'll go to a class anywhere from 3 to 5 days, get a certificate, and they'll turn you loose on someone's face. It's a pretty bad, it's not a good scene at all. And there's a lot of practitioners out there that really need their heads examined. Basically, the microblading came out because when you're using a tattoo machine, a single needle is the hardest needle to use. It's a very, very difficult needle to use, and the people were basically chopping, women's faces up.
Right.
And they're cutting them, and they're not putting the ink in, and it's healing out, and it's just a mess. Well, the microblading came out. It's basically a handheld tool with needle groupings in different configurations that you basically drag across the skin, and it makes extremely thin hair-like strokes. That's kind of the new wave, the new trend. So we do offer that here. I personally don't do it. My fiance is actually our cosmetic tattooist, Coco, and I've apprenticed her for over a year to do it. She has a lot of experience compared to the majority of her industry, and she also knows how to use a machine. So she also does the machine end of it and the microblading as well, and uses them both even simultaneously on the same customer,
right,
client. But basically, that's basically all microblading is. It's a handheld tattoo implement. Pretty much like the old Japanese stick and poke. It's a handheld one. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll be speaking with Coco in a minute, so we'll get a little.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, she's definitely excited on that. I'd like a lot of people to be educated in that as well.
Definitely. I mean, it's like you said, it's the face. You know what I'm saying?
It is. Well, the funny thing is honestly, I'm a guy, obviously, and I don't pay a lot of attention to what the hell women are doing to their face.
Right.
And I would probably say 9 out of 10 women put pencil on their eyebrows, and they spend a good amount of time doing it. And the funny thing is the more you talk to them about it, the more you realize they don't even put them on their face straight.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They don't even have their coffee yet, and they're trying to paint their faces before the day, And so it's a cool procedure. It's kind of dubbed as semi-permanent, which is they use a smaller pigment ink. It's a smaller molecule, so that the ink actually will lighten, as opposed to a heavier tattoo, more traditional tattoo ink. And the way that this put in the skin isn't as saturated as a traditional tattoo, so the ink does lift and fade and lighten over years. So as you age and your face starts drooping, or whatever may be happening to you, they do lighten and they do kind of go away a little bit. Also, we kind of work with your natural hairline, so that you don't end up with some crazy marks across your forehead. So
that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about. Is how does that work? If they have to continuously shave the eyebrow?
No, actually will work with what hair you do have.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of times women's hair is sparse. It may not grow back all the way. The bulb of the eyebrow might be your thicker part. Like say there's a lot of chemotherapy, cancer survivors end up with hair growth issues.
Right.
Most women, from what I've come to realize, they've been plucking their eyebrows for so long that they just don't grow back. Stuff like that. So, and if you do have hair, we'll leave it there. What we'll do is we'll manicure it to the shape that's the best for your face, or work with you for the shape, and we will, or she will microblade or, apply the process between your hair and work with what you have. So, we don't shave your eyebrows.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little bold.
Now, people want to follow up. They want to know more about you. They want to see some of your work.
Sure.
They want to make an appointment. What do they do? Where do they go?
Okay, well, basically, we have a gorgeous Facebook page and an even better looking website. Our website, www.luckydevilletattoocompany.com, is spectacular. It's a gorgeous website. It's we just had it fully updated, fully rebuilt, and that's beautiful to go to. Also, our Facebook page is extremely up to date, it's just cool, man. We have hundreds of reviews, all 5-star. We can't make that shit up.
Right.
I don't even think you could even erase a review if it's shitty. So I mean, we're the only shop in the whole area with a 100% 5-star rating that's been here as long as we have. And like I said, man, it's the way we have just hundreds of reviews to look at. You can check out all our work. It's updated. If you go ahead and contact us, message us, we have an under 5-minute response time.
Wow.
We take our business very seriously, and I'm coming up on retirement, so I'm not going to fuck this one up.
Yeah. One final question before I let you go.
Sure.
That's for somebody who's had shops in the 90s compared to now with social media and things like that. You see,
oh, it's scary.
You see in a situation where people can find a doctor in California and
right.
they don't want to go to them because they have such great reviews. Do you feel that as a help or a hindrance now with the tattoo work?
Well, social media, the question you actually asked at the end of that, it is a help. Social media is scary. Social media is, it's so necessary these days, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my mind to keep the social media up pretty much more than anything, honestly. I spend between having to, pay for Google and pay for all this shit to keep you on the search engine optimization and everything else. That's all new to me. That's something I was never, I'm terrible at computers, let me put it to that way. Basically, it's something that's so necessary, it's almost something that works against you as well. You get one person that just doesn't like you. And it's scary, man, when you really think about it. You can have just a straight asshole come in here, just not like you, or you're blasting some punk rock, they take offense to it, and go write some crappy shit about you.
Or in a situation where it could be a rival business that could even...
and it's weird that doesn't happen more, or maybe it does. But it is a thought that I get.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as social media working for you, wow, hell yeah. As far as I'm concerned, man, radio's garbage.
Right.
Radio is absolute garbage. I remember back in the 90s in my first Lucky DeVille shop, I was actually on a morning show tattooing a radio host before on the air.
That's awesome.
And it was cool, man. You used to be able to do that before health departments. And, people would hear you, and okay, that's great. Or you run some radio ads, and you pay $5,000 for X amount of spots that come on whenever the hell they want to in some weird sporadic configuration on some, on some weird, mathematical kind of equation. They pop up whenever. And what are the chances that you're paying attention?
Exactly.
Radio to me was garbage, man. But when this social media, this shop, Facebook and Instagram have been completely invaluable, man. They're so helpful. They're one of the biggest tools there is, honestly, man. And as long as, and that's where the integrity and the ethics comes in, man. As long as you stay solid in what you're doing, I guess you really shouldn't have to worry about what's going on in the reviews and all that. To me, I just worry about it, man, because I've been around so long. I've watched stupid shit happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But as far as it goes, it's an absolutely fascinating tool. The internet is I don't even know how we used to get along without it, honestly, in this industry. Everybody, it's attached to their hips, their smartphones, everything. And if you do get that potential client that hasn't heard of you, they're just looking for a shop to go to. There it is there, man.
Exactly.
They Google best tattoo shop in the area. We're number one every time. So
awesome, man.
Yeah, it's actually working out really well.
All right, man. Tell me about the sleeve that you're working on right now.
Yeah, and my buddy John, man, this is a really cool sleeve. So John came up to me one day and he said, hey, check this out. He goes, I'm coming to you because I want some evil. And I said, evil, huh? Like, what are you thinking about it? Like, what are your images in your head? He goes, I don't know, man. He goes, I just got demons. Yeah, I just got demons, man. And I was like, all right. So anyways, we started putting this sleeve together. It was pretty much up in the air as to what we were going to do, just with the dark, imagery. And as we started doing it, I basically... we started out with the Cthulhu skull with the tentacles,
right.
And went ahead and threw that on there, man. And after he saw that, it kind of loosened his brain up a little bit, and he likes eyeballs. Mm-hmm. So now, man, I think some of his demons are watching him. So as this sleeve is progressing, man, we're putting eyeballs in there, man. We got eyeballs with nerve endings and all the optic nerves, and then we got hands and stuff coming out of eyes. We got he's got his Cthulhu skull with the third eye.
Right.
And but yeah, this is a fun sleeve. It's turning out really well. It's really fun to do. He's the perfect client that actually commissioned me to do the piece for my artwork. And that's the best to get. The more that this shop is developing, the more I'm making the name for myself in the area, the more I'm starting to, pretty much 90% of my pieces now are all things that, hey man, let's do your art, let's get it on there. So yeah, so that's turning out really successful, and that tattoo itself is phenomenal, and I hope everyone out there that's watching this really enjoys it.
Awesome, man. Like I said, looking at the sleeve, it's fantastic work, and it's so cool that it's just something that you're just coming up with as the process goes through.
Right, exactly, and I can't wait for our next session, man.
Awesome.
So I got his whole inner forearm, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to step it up and make this one. We're probably going to get really nasty on this one, so.
Great, man.
Yep.
Well, we'll do a follow-up soon and see what the process turned into at the very end product.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm here with Coco, and I was just speaking with Rick, and I understand that you do the microblading?
Yes, I do.
Now, someone like me has no idea what that truly is. I mean, Rick explained it to me a little bit, but I want to talk to the artists themselves. Fill me in. What is it?
Of course, it's actually an old school way of tattooing, and you're manually putting the ink into the skin where the eyebrows are to make color, shape, make somebody feel good about themselves again. I mean, these women go crazy over it. The biggest question I get about microblading is, do we shave your eyebrows off? No, we don't actually. We work with what you have, and we go right through it, right over it, right into your natural area. We may tweeze or pluck a few pieces that are out of place, but we generally just shape it. We spend as much time as you would like measuring, shaping, color, deciding what color is best for you. And it's not fully permanent. It is semi-permanent, so it's not fully permanent for the rest of your life.
Okay.
It's wonderful. It's so worth it. It's easy. We can get you numb. You pretty much lay down and we just make hair strokes. Real simple, fine hair strokes. And so it's not a loud piece of machine over your head,
Right.
zapping you nothing. You don't even really hear anything. A lot of people say it's no pain at all. The healing is very easy, but it's just putting a little, like a needle groupings and dipping it in ink and actually making a hair stroke. And it looks completely natural.
That's awesome. So it's a completely different process than an old school tattoo.
A completely different process. It's used with just, like I said, it's kind of like a bunch of little needles. Some of them are on an angle, it depends. Some of them are in a U shape, and there's no loud noises, there's no machine behind it. It's just like a pen. It's like using a pen with a little bit of a blade on it.
Oh, cool.
And you dip it in ink, kind of like calligraphy.
Right.
So.
Now, do you just do the eyebrows or do you eyeliner too?
Well, I don't, and here at Lucky DeVille Tattoo, we offer the microblading all day long, every day, but the eyes are something different that I really don't want to get into right at this moment. I think it's a really big risk, and I really we care too deeply about people here to just say, okay, we're going to put eyeliner on you. I don't feel comfortable doing that for people with a tattoo machine. I don't want to, because there's a lot of dangers to it, especially nerve endings, and people always end up really unhappy with tattooed eyeliner.
See,
always.
I was just curious as far as it goes. Like I said, I never heard the process, and I figured that. I didn't know if you would do that, because I'd be scared shitless if someone's coming and the needle that close to my eye.
Right?
For you yourself,
Yeah, of course.
somebody jumps or, you know what I'm saying? That's
anything. So we're not really offering that. We can do the lips. We can actually tattoo some color on your lips and give your lips.
Really cool.
It is, and it actually makes them a little puffy for a little bit. So women always love that.
Right.
But the eyes, we just kind of stray away from. We don't, like I said, we care too deeply about people to just be like, okay, we can do it. We can totally do it. If somebody is really adamant and they say, hey, I really want you to do this, we can completely do it because we tattoo all day long here.
Right.
It's nothing different, but we just don't really market it like...
Like I said, I was just curious if that was the part of the process, it was the whole, or just the eyebrow, or...
I gotcha. No, I gotcha. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Now, when they want to make an appointment, does it take a while to get in, or is it...
Not really. Not for the microblading, no.
Okay.
Microblading is fairly easy. I obviously don't take walk-ins for that. We definitely want to make sure there's a plan, because you want to kind of prepare yourself beforehand. Like, you don't want to be... having like a ton of coffee before you come.
Right,
you don't want to bleed. But you know what? I've actually never had any bleeders, to be honest.
But I'm assuming it's going to take a little bit of time to match up the color of the eyebrow to the ink that you're using. So
Absolutely.
it's not I'm doing black today.
Yep, of course. You're absolutely right. And we test that. Like I put I put like maybe 3 different shades on your forehead first and wipe it on there with a Q-tip and just see how it dries on the skin. And then that client from there can pick their shade as well to see which one kind of works best for them.
And how long does the process take to get done?
Fully from start to finish, you're here for maybe an hour and a half.
Oh, really?
That's us talking, cleaning you off. I do a lot of measuring. I'm real precise on the measurements. Shade decision, and then the cleaning up, like the sterilization and the numbing part too.
Excellent.
So it's like about an hour and a half, and we always have fun. Girls always talk, and they tell you we end up becoming best buds after. So
great. Now, people want to make an appointment. They want to know more about it. I'm sure there's a section on the website.
Yep, there is. We do have a brand new. Our website just was actually re-upped, let's just say that. So I'm going to actually add a lot more onto the website at Lucky DeVille Tattoo at yahoo.com. or I'm sorry, yeah, I didn't mean that, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's...
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't know why I did that. But we are adding more to that because I do want to make bullet points of how it works because so many people are unknown. People don't know about it.
Yeah, like I said, this was my first hearing about it.
Yeah, and we have it written outside of our shop, microblading, and a lot of people just don't seem to know what it is.
They might assume it's a new style of something, you know? But
exactly.
That's excellent. I'm glad to see that you're doing something so cool to help out ladies. And, you know, like me and Rick talked about earlier, it's, you know, something where when you do get older, it's something you see these girls at a stoplight trying to do that.
Yes.
For you to be able to give them something permanent, semi-permanent, and have them look beautiful, get them out of their way.
Yep, and you know, I've had women come in and when they get this done, they've actually had people ask them if they had a facelift.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's crazy what this does for women to feel beautiful too, because some women don't have eyebrows at all, or they're very sparse, or they're very light, or you may have alopecia and have nothing there.
Right.
You know, women are very, very self-conscious of that, and eyebrows are like the first thing people normally see.
Yeah.
Especially women and women, but I don't know if men pay attention to that as much as we do, but women, once they have this done, they feel wonderful about themselves. It's amazing to see that, and then they thank you for helping them feel that way.
I was going to say, it's great that not only you're boosting their beauty, but you're also boosting their self-esteem in this process.
Yes, it's a big deal.
Like I said, it's very unique. I don't know anyone else that does it. I'm glad to see that Lucky DeVille's the only shop that I know that does it. So.
Oh, great. Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, we are, and we're willing to answer anyone's questions. People can call, and like I said, I'm going to have the website revised.
You were telling me you guys are real social media friendly, so I'm sure you can the Facebook page, any questions, you can pop in and fill everything in that's curious about it.
Yep, and we check that Facebook as much as we can. We answer is pretty much within a half an hour on average time, unless we're all very busy tattooing or something.
Right.
But we are generally real quick to answer people on Facebook, and we post things on Instagram as well. So
cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. I don't want to take up too much more. I see you're about to do some piercings.
Yeah, thank you.
Busy day.
Yeah, lots of piercings today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Find me at Lucky DeVille Tattoo Company in Amherst, New York, 2333 Niagara Falls Boulevard in Amherst. Come check us out. Check out our webpage at LuckyDeVilleTattooCompany.com or check us out on Facebook. Thank you.